You would say wagon wheel?
Yeah.
Well, what would constitute a tire to put on a?
If you wrap it,
what is the giant circular thing then?
You're messing with me, right?
No.
Okay. Dude, look at a car, right?
Sure.
If a nail goes into it, you need a new tire. You don't need a new wheel.
Right. Well, that's just because it's made out of rubber. Like a wagon wheel used to be made out of wood.
And that's a wheel.
If you made that out of rubber, you're telling me then it's a tire? So rubber is the differentiator?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go then. So it's the material of the round object.
Any tire is going to be around the wheel.
Yeah, but so what would you call the big round circular thing on a wagon?
A wheel.
Okay. Why is it a wheel in that scenario, but not a wheel in others?
Because there's no tire on it.
So the tire is only rubber.
I would assume so, yes.
Okay.
What's going on, everybody? This is my first strategy show of the season, kicking it off strong here. Fortunately, you missed our prior conversation. I don't think would be approved or appropriate for
that's not the cold open we need
for this type of family-friendly program, but happy to be back. Got the crew back together, at least for a day here. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the Twitter. And joining me, Josh Engleman, for the strategy show presented by PrizePicks. Very happy to be here. We're back doing a little basketball breakdown today. 4-game slate on a Tuesday. How you feeling, man?
I feel pretty good. Fun to not be in the host seat for once. This is fun. So this show could actually be better now that we got rid of Adam. Unfortunately, he's back for the deeper dive today. I don't know how he got out of this one, but I'm sure he's very happy about it.
Yeah, well,
it's just good to be back.
There's less NFL going on right now, and so all right, do a strategy show, Lofty. I said, all right, I'll do it. Yesterday's football though, brutal. I just got tuned up in that one.
Really?
Oh yeah, just started drinking early. Let me tell you.
Oh, I thought you meant like you.
Oh no, I
mean,
Bucks. I got crushed,
okay.
And then it subsequently started drinking as a result. Jordan and I were going back and forth about that one, but oh, dude, it was so bad. I'm assuming you didn't watch that game, but it was just
not a second.
Yeah, horrible. But
forgot it was on, honestly.
How about this though? Even though you're not the biggest football guy, Brett Maher, the place kicker for the Cowboys, missed 4 straight extra points in the first half.
Yeah, that could be a real problem if that game was competitive.
What are the odds though that happens? It's not windy. That seems so unlikely.
I mean, it is incredibly unlikely. It's what, 0.0. How often are extra points made? 95% of the time or something now?
It's probably less than that now that they pushed it back a few years ago, but still, it's a chip shot. It's still a chip shot.
Let's call it 90% of the time you make it.
Yeah, sure.
So we're talking about a 10% chance to miss, which is going to be 1 in... We're talking 1 in 10,000 to miss 4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes no sense at all, but yeah, they smoked them. They smoked them, and Brett Maher. Fortunately, it didn't matter. They were up 24-0.
So what are the NFC matchups now?
So Eagles Giants Saturday night, and then San Fran and Dallas, and then you got Jackson. You saw the Jacksonville comeback, or at least you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Jacksonville and Buffalo, right? No, Jacksonville, Kansas City, and then Cincy Buffalo is going to be sick. That's going to be good.
Can't wait. I wish that it was Birds Cowboys.
Yeah,
but
well,
whatever.
It still can be.
Yeah, but like nobody wants that because of the Niners.
Right. Yeah, and also no one wants to play the Niners.
No,
at all.
Birds Cowboys NFC title game would be
massive. Ooh. Like the NFL lucking into that would be huge.
Being in the Northeast for that would be pretty fun. Philadelphia as a city would be on edge because that's as bad as it gets. That kind of loss is as bad as it gets for Philly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Not the only reason it wouldn't be as bad is because we have the most recent Super Bowl. Like we have a more recent Super Bowl. Dallas is gone. They've been in a drought for a very long time.
94, right?
Yeah. Long time. Like there's always the great, like Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl 95. Highlight memes. And then it's on And it's just a picture of a VHS tape.
Yeah. I think those VHS tapes are probably at
my
my house with my dad.
We'll get into some basketball here, but if that happens, you may have to come up and we may have to watch the game. It would be worth it.
I mean, I'm cheering for the Cowboys.
That's okay.
I don't think you want me around.
That's okay. The fact that you'd be cheering for the Cowboys is disgusting, but it would be pretty fun.
Oh, I'm going to my parents' house. I'm going to my dad. He's giving me the throwback Roger Staubach jersey. I'm coming in like a complete asshole for you.
He's a Cowboys fan?
He is.
Okay, so no wonder you were raised so terribly.
I became a Commanders fan. Oh, it's disgusting to even say.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk some basketball here. We had to get back into the rhythm. We haven't done a show together since the finals of last year.
Yeah, it's probably been game whatever the final. I can't remember how many games it went because of the booze, but
yeah, yeah, we had a couple long nights.
I think it went 6, but I don't remember.
I think it did. Yeah,
I think the Warriors won.
Who? Milwaukee, Phoenix?
No, that's 2 years ago.
Oh, dude, then I was blacked out for the whole thing.
Warriors, Celtics.
Warriors, Celtics. That's right. Yeah, Warriors, Celtics. Yeah, because I had some heavy action on the Warriors in that last game, and that was fun though. We'll bring some play back again.
Oh yeah, can't wait.
We did the live shows from Milwaukee, Phoenix too, though.
We did.
Yeah, and Milwaukee beat them so bad. Or no. Okay, no. Last year it was Phoenix that sat their starters like for the entire second half against Dallas.
Yeah, they got just absolutely eviscerated. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I think Milwaukee also won in 6. Might have even been 5 against Phoenix. I don't remember. But anyway.
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
No, he just hates the Eagles.
Yeah, I would just support the Cowboys before I would support the Eagles. There's a difference.
Right, which is sickening. I think if you came over, hung out with me and the boys, you might just get sucked into the
every single one of my friends from home are all Eagles, Phillies, whatever fans. Trust me, it's never happened.
I actually rescind the invitation because if you're around me and all the guys and everyone's having some drinks, I don't want to fight to start.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it is infinite, no matter who we're talking about here. If I just know that I'm in a room full of Eagles fans, the opportunity for violence, if something is going wrong there, is just infinitely higher.
It's very, very high, especially with my buddy Pat.
I mean, even my own friends would be likely to punch me in the face in this scenario. I would be shocked by any part of that. I know what I'm getting myself into.
It'd be best to avoid it entirely.
Of course.
Well, we're at 61 thumbs up already. Appreciate you guys that come in and just know the drill. Everyone just wants to atone for their sins, wash themselves clean of that disgusting filth. Kind of what Josh and I were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
God, I want to pose that question in the chat so bad, but I can't.
Can't do it.
I can't do it.
You would have to we would have to just change the verbiage that we were using.
Yeah, we would. And I'd have Jordan on going like this because he freaks out every time I say something even, a little bit off. But talk a little bit. Oh, and hey, subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't done so. If you're watching after the fact, leave a comment down below. We try and read, at the very least, read all of them, respond to them. If you're listening in podcast form, leave a rating, review, subscribe. All that stuff helps us a ton. So we appreciate you guys. Good morning. Let's get into it. Toronto and Milwaukee. And by the way, a lot of ownership, Josh, is going to be coming from the Brooklyn-San Antonio game right now. Yeah, a ton. And then I would suspect, if McDermott sits, you get even more going to someone like Richardson. I mean, that game stands out on a 4-game slate considerably, just looking at ownership out of the gate.
It really does. It's a completely different game compared to the rest of them. And that's never fun. When I ran my dummy crunch, I am just overloaded on Brooklyn. I think Jakob Poeltl is like my second or third most exposed player on the slate. So I'll have a lot of Brooklyn San Antonio, which means that I'm sure that it's going to become a 30-point blowout and useless.
Yeah, that's the way it usually plays. We'll kick it off with Toronto and Milwaukee. Only 4 games, though, and they're spaced out with a 7:30, an 8, a 9, and a 10. So we really don't have that much pending injury news right now, to be honest with you. And do you think Giannis plays?
I don't know. This is the trickiest part of this game is that we've got both teams on a back-to-back. Giannis hasn't played in 3 games. I had been reading that Chris Middleton could potentially be back for today, which is another complicating factor. Toronto had gone from playing an aggressive bench to not playing an aggressive bench yesterday. Does that mean that they do it then today and everything's softer? I don't know. Van Vliet was questionable very late into yesterday's slate and eventually then played 40 minutes in regulation and another 5 in overtime. I mean, we're at a point now where this game, there's very little that we could really say right now. So much of it is just like, we need to wait for the 1:30 injury report, and then we just need to wait till 7:00 until we get a starting lineup, and then you just make your moves from there.
Right. And what's tough about this too is, generally most coaches, after running starters, 40 minutes to Anunoby, 45, like you mentioned, overtime, 45 yesterday to Barnes, 37 to Trent, 45 to Fred VanVleet, 46 to Pascal Siakam. Normally you'd go, all right, that's not going to happen on the second of a back-to-back in the regular season. But we're talking about Nick Nurse here.
Yeah. But it's not all bets are off for something like this. The last time that they played a back-to-back was Thursday, the 29th, Friday, the 30th. Now we had no Van Vliet at that point in time. Precious Achiuwa hadn't come back yet. But they went from, Siakam played 38 minutes in the front end. He played 41 on the back end. Barnes went from 35 to 38. Trent went from 32 to 39. These guys are there's no doubt in my mind that they can just step right back in and play another 40 minutes today as if nothing happened yesterday. Right.
And that's where I guess some of the appeal, Toronto usually a relatively, or at least yesterday, condensed bench. All of their price points now are in spots where you're not getting massive value on them. But in the event that they do play these big minutes on a shortened slate, and we can talk about Achiuwa here because he's actually pulling the most ownership, just given kind of the dearth of value on a slate like this. But, Barnes and Van Vliet and Siakam, just given the playing time, are they still decent pieces to sprinkle in today?
Yeah, and it sort of depends on the site. Fred VanVleet's 7,100 today on FanDuel. He's an exceptional play, even if you don't think he's getting some sort of giant minutes. If you want to go to 36, even if you want to go to 34, he's a really good play at 34 minutes on a 4-game slate. There's no real, you can't dodge that particular price. But I think in general, this Raptors team looks a little bit better on FanDuel than they do on DraftKings. You see someone like Pascal Siakam, 9,500 on FanDuel, and he gets the power forward eligibility to go along with center. Whereas on DraftKings, he's just 9,800 and center eligible. So a little bit more difficult to get to given the amount of center value that exists on today's slate. But every one of the starters, Siakam, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Trent, Barnes, I've got them 35 minutes plus. I've got Siakam at 38. It still leaves me more than enough minutes in my eyes to be able to still get to shares of Achiuwa or Boucher. They really limited Malachi Flynn yesterday, played 2.5 first half minutes, and that was it. Juancho had reduced minutes. So even if they want to sort of reintroduce these guys a little bit, you're still getting 34 plus out of the starters, barring any aggressive foul trouble.
How much can we really, and you already alluded to this, but at this point, how much can we really talk about Milwaukee? I suppose we can definitely, play the if this situation, right? In the event that Giannis, if Giannis and Middleton remain out, and I know Giannis had practiced as well, so there were some assumptions that he was going to play last game. Maybe it was precautionary holding him out in a spot like that to get him back today. If both of them, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we will have the deeper dive tonight, you and Adam, I believe, and then Greg and Eric after you. So we'll have a lot more information. Plus, this is the first game to tip off, which is super helpful. But when it comes to a guy like Giannis and Middleton, who has been out, if both of these guys are sidelined today, we already have Dame getting a lot of ownership, Kyrie Irving. There's a few amount of point guards higher priced that are in good spots that are pulling a lot of love. What do we do with Drew Holiday if Giannis and Middleton remain sidelined?
I already love Drew at 8K or 7,900, and that's with me having Giannis projected in. If Giannis gets ruled out, we just see a dramatic increase in basically everything for Drew. The entire scope of Drew Holiday's game changes if Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't going to be in the game. Just in games that Giannis hasn't played this year. He's missed 9 games. Jrue Holiday's played 162 minutes in that scenario, 25% usage rate. I know that seems relatively light. You also see boosts to someone like Bobby Portis, potentially. His price is already sort of where you need it to be, but just Giannis off. You just take Giannis off the floor. Everything changes. The whole entire, the way that the team plays changes. You get the complexion. There we go. Giannis off this season. Just that qualification alone. Jrue Holiday's played 432 minutes, 31% usage rate. We're talking about like a 5% usage bump with Giannis just not being on the floor. And it's not as if the assists don't go, like his assist rate is 13.5 assists per 100 possessions. It ends up being, north of a 30% assist rate. He's undoubted, or north of a 40% assist rate. Apologies. There's just no doubt he becomes the best play on today's slate if Giannis isn't playing today.
Yeah. And assuming Middleton, well, even if Middleton plays, Middleton's going to be limited regardless.
He's not coming back in and playing 30 something minutes. You're getting 20 at best, 24 at best.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Middleton, let's just assume whenever I wouldn't be surprised if he's limited for a decent little while there. Right.
Agreed. Right. This is right knee stuff. This is not like, he separated his shoulder and he's working his way back. Like, right. This is a lower body injury that needs to be healthy in April. There is no incentive for them to just let him rip. So if he's back, I don't think that it really matters if all three of them are in, like it's certainly not great for Jrue at that point in time, but it's not as big of a negative as it usually is.
For sure. Sean said that Giannis had 12 turnovers last time against Toronto. He did. He also had 30 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists.
I'll be sure to factor that 12 turnover game in precisely 0% of my model. So
of course, it's just crazy to see that he had a quad double in that one.
Yeah. That's Giannis.
Yeah. Just taking him off the floor is unparalleled to essentially anything in basketball.
It is. It is. Just because of the way he plays too.
Right. Right. He does everything. Yeah. If these guys are, well, hold on. If these guys are both in, or let's just say Giannis at this point, it's just far more important than trying to get into the weeds too much with Middleton. But if Giannis does play, we talked about Jrue Holiday. Where do you stand on, a relatively, an affordable Brook Lopez? And then like we even have guys like Joe Ingles getting a little bit of love today, assuming he's back in action, which he should be. I think yesterday was just a maintenance day because value is just not there right now.
Yeah. So starting with Brook Lopez, 5,800 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel, doesn't really like the status of anybody here doesn't really matter. He's not the type of guy that's just going to soak up a ton of usage. He's never going to be like a guy that gets a ton of rebounds. He's more of a team rebounder than anything else. I think he's properly owned at around 18% on DraftKings, 12 on FanDuel. The only other guy that's pulling double digits in ownership for Milwaukee, at least as of right now, is Joe Ingles. He's a $3,500 small forward, power forward. Guy tends to play like somewhere around 23 minutes. He's a 0.7, 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy. It's not good. I think that the ownership is correct, though. There's not a lot in that sub 4K range anywhere on today's slate for any one of the games where you just immediately have a value guy that you want to get to a lot. So it's going to be a lot of like picking and choosing which guy you think you can get to. Ingles played 25 minutes on Saturday. Like that, your upside is probably 25, 26 minutes. You're hoping that he can maybe grab an extra steal or something along those lines to really stack up the points. You just don't need as much either from 3,500 on a 4-game slate. So I like the idea of going to Ingles. He is probably my preferred bench option. He is the guy that I've gotten to the most from Milwaukee on the DK end. I don't think Pat Connaughton is all that different. You get the shooting guard, small forward eligibility. He's probably good for about 28 minutes, upwards of 30, depending on if everybody's in. But again, another 0.7 guy. That's the problem with the Bucks. Their entire bench outside of Bobby Portis is just shitty from a fantasy perspective. Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Ingles, Javon Carter, AJ Green. These are all like 0.75 guys. You're just hoping to get the minutes right, or you're hoping to get like the fluke shooting right.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about Brooklyn and the San Antonio Spurs. First, though, Braden, $50 super chat. Thanks, man. Saying always a good day when you wake up $100,000 richer. Thanks for the content, gents. I'm practically a regular for your guys' shows. Love it all. Much appreciated. That's amazing, dude. Hit us up at Stokastic Hall of Fame on Twitter, too. Let us get you up there on the board. It's a big
win, what'd you ship? Football?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Have to.
I know Steve took down the 50K on DraftKings yesterday
for NBA.
For NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Well, unless maybe it was like a couple days ago when he's just coming in.
Yeah, maybe.
Hot this
took down the single game last night.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Love it.
I'm glad someone did because I was dead from the jump. Once I saw that Fournette wasn't in the offense anymore, I just hung it up. Despite having a ton of Dalton Schultz, that didn't make a difference at all. That's awesome though, man. Congratulations. Yeah, let us get you up on the Hall of Fame and duck you in there. That's a big win. We'd love to show it off for you. All right, so Brooklyn and San Antonio. Before we do, shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. We love PrizePicks, Josh. Love our sponsor, PrizePicks.
I was rocking the PrizePicks gear yesterday for the show. I know.
It's nice gear, too. It's not, had some bad gear before with sponsors where you're like, I'll put that in the closet. I'll find it a few years from now and toss it. But no, PrizePicks, some nice gear. But more than anything, you got the first match deposit bonus up to $100. You have a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum coming your way when you sign up and deposit at PrizePicks. That's the best part of all of this. They came to us and they said, hey, we like you guys. We said, we like you too. We would like to work something out. And in doing so, now you got $100 first match deposit bonus. But the biggest thing, it's a straight no-brainer here, is when you use that link in the description and the one in chat that Jordan just threw in there, you're getting all of our tools for every single sport for an entire month, entirely free, $120 value, brand new lineup generator for NBA. It's a beautiful thing. For NFL, we have that. Any sport you can think of, if they have content out there, contests, we have content for it. All of the tools, everything across the board. Check it out, man. It's free to you for $120. You deposit like $10 on PrizePicks. Play over there because it's a great platform. You're just building lineups. They'd be considered parlays at other books. All it is here is you're putting them in as you can mix and match sports. If you like football and basketball and college, you can throw them all into the same one. If you hit 5 of 5, you're 10Xing. You're now going to do six player lineups, 6 prop lineups. You hit that, you're 25Xing. And unlike traditional parlays, here's the kicker. Here's the real sweetener. The way to sustain your bankroll. Unlike traditional parlays, if you hit 4 of 5, you lose everything. You still 2X if you hit 4 of 5 here. You still make money back if you hit 3 of 5. So you can sustain your bankroll, but also put yourself in a spot to win some big money. Just player props, putting them in lineups, and all the information you're getting from Josh today, everything you get on the deeper dive, all of that's entirely applicable to your process over there at PrizePicks. You can use our tools, projected player props, stats, all of that for that. So use the link, get the free month, get the $100 first match deposit bonus, and start making some money. All right, Brooklyn and the San Antonio Spurs. Simmons is getting a ton of ownership, coming off a patented Ben Simmons game the other day with 0 points.
Do you miss him?
What?
Do you miss him?
Nah, not even remotely. No, I don't.
Do you miss the best of him?
Yeah, that's a tough question because you can't really isolate that, right? Because the best always came with the worst. So like if you ask me, I remember Ben Simmons had that 40-some point game against Utah where he just dominated. You remember that game?
Yeah.
Dominated. And you're like, oh my, like this is what he can be? Yeah, I'd be cool without him ripping 3-pointers. That's fine. Yeah. But it's more so the fact that he would just collapse. And whether you and I have talked about this till we're blue in the face so many times. Like, whether it was the free throw shooting where he would just freeze up, malfunction, whatever it was. I don't miss him because it was a mixed bag no matter how you cut it. And then once you got to the playoffs, it started getting pretty ugly. It's a lot different though, because you have 3-point shooters and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving around him. Like he belonged. Yeah. That is a better situation for him than Philly ever could have been.
You just wish that he wasn't mentally broken.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that. There's that too.
I mean, they broke 2 people and turned them into guys that like can't shoot.
Yeah. Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
But I don't think they broke Ben Simmons at all because he never shot.
Yeah, but he shot.
Not really.
He is scared to take layups now.
Yeah, but he's out of Philly. So it's kind of funny. You're saying,
well, yeah, like now it's just too ingrained in his brain now.
Maybe, but he was never he never tried to get better. At least I don't know. It's besides the point. He's 50.
It's clearly mental and only mental. Like this can only be a mental issue.
Especially when you see him hitting them all in warmups. Like I understand there's not a hand in his face, but like you watch him warmups and practice and you go, his shooting form is not even that bad. And then you watch it in a game and you go, how did this guy make it?
He's just so very clearly terrified to fail at offense for himself. It's bizarre.
It is. And he's just never, unless you get him the ball around the basket or unless it's just put back attempts, you'll see once in a while where he'll have like a nasty drive to the rim and dunk over somebody, right?
Right. Yeah, like his athleticism is crazy.
Right. And then you know this. Then you go, there he is. That's who I was talking about. That's who we, and then it's gone. And then 2 months later, you see it again and you go, okay, we're back in business. And then it disappears again. That's what it is.
Like if you could turn his mindset into Dylan Brooks, I wonder what he looks like.
Oh my God.
Just getting to the rack, like aggressive, like as much as he possibly could, like just try, like constantly just head down straight to the rim. Then when you get there and you get met with someone, you're 6'10" and can pass to any point on the court.
Right. Yeah. Minus all of the fouls. That would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, just his offensive mindset, I'm going to look for me mindset.
That's what I figured you meant. Yeah. Cause the defensive mindset is it's fine.
Yeah.
Less pressure.
Yeah.
What it is.
It sucks.
But you know,
I just want good people to be good. Like I don't want him. Like I think people want him to be this now, but like I don't want that at all.
I have no problem. I would like to see, like, okay, would I be excited to see him perform well as a scorer? No, absolutely not. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I would. But he's not expensive. He's facing the worst defense in the league in the San Antonio Spurs, top 10 pace team. You just like, even with Kevin Durant out, to assume that he is going to take on a heavier role offensively, I think would be ill-advised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, do you see a slight increase in rebound rate? Could there be more facilitating opportunities? Sure. I get why he's getting this ownership, but it doesn't remove the fact that you still, like Kevin Durant's absence, you still need to get there by way of peripherals with Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I'm a little lighter on Simmons than what we're showing from an ownership perspective. 5,900 today. Power forward center eligibility is always great. He's been a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy over the past 30 days. That's basically where he is in my model. That's exactly where I have him in for today. My only question is, how many minutes is this guy playing? So he didn't play on Sunday. He played 26 minutes this past Thursday. Over the most recent 7 games that he's played, he's cracked 30 minutes once. He got to 29 and a half once. The rest are 24, 23, 19, 26. I gave him 28 minutes, which I think is like a pretty reasonable expectation. If you want to tell me that it should be 30, I think that's fine. I think he's a good point per dollar play. I'm surprised to see him be the guy that's getting the most ownership from the Nets.
I was a little bit surprised by that too. I mean, even when you look at a guy like Kyrie Irving, you have some other interesting spots. I want to just kind of fast forward a little bit here and get your take on this if we can zoom out, because it makes more sense to put this kind of in context. Because Brooklyn, you could probably close your eyes and click and find somebody that is going to be relatively popular and still not a bad play. Yeah. But with Irving, you know, you have Damian Lillard, who's also popular on this site, similar price point. And then you have James Harden, who's just getting virtually no ownership for a 4-gamer compared to these guys. Harden's been dominant since he returned from injury on December 5th. Faced the same Clippers team earlier in the month, or in December, had like 20 and 21 with monster triple-double. Of course, you know, we're not looking at that one game, but what I'm saying is it's a Clippers defense that usually is pretty good. Both of these teams play slow, but he's getting way less ownership than all of these guys. When it comes to Kyrie Irving, he's getting around 30%. How do you kind of come to terms with something where you go, okay, does his usage increase without Durant? Yeah. But as long as Ben Simmons is on the floor, Kyrie Irving's assist rate, which generally speaking, you'd kind of like to see it up. It really does not, like, as long as Simmons is out there, Kyrie Irving's assist rate is not going to be impressive. He's not a skilled rebounder. So really and I'm not saying he's entirely point dependent, right? He's not Seth Curry. I'm not saying that either, but you do need him to rack up like 30 plus points in a game like this to get you where you need to go. You
do. And is he capable of doing that?
Of course.
Yep. It's obviously going to look pretty good there. Like, I have him in for 36 minutes. We see in the 372 minutes he's played with Kevin Durant off the floor in games that Kyrie has started, he's got a 34.5% usage rate. Like, that's no joke. And that's going to stay here because there is no one else on this team that is going to be able to shoot and create possessions the same way that Kyrie Irving is going to. So I have him over 1.3 fantasy points per minute for this game. But what I think is the very interesting piece, he's shooting just under 14 threes per 100 possessions in this same scenario. He's only shooting 27.5% from three with Durant off the floor. That doesn't necessarily surprise me. He's probably taking a lot of late clock looks. He's probably taking a lot of shots that he's creating on his own, not necessarily getting set up as much by the spacing that Durant can provide. So you do sort of have to project his shooting rates a little bit less so than you would if Kevin Durant were in. That said, I'm still getting to a ton of Kyrie Irving because even at 9,900, he's just, at least for me, projecting a lot better than anybody else in this range. I have him 5 points ahead of James Harden with $100 difference in salary. But the gap in ownership isn't as crazy. The guy that I think is crazy from an ownership perspective is actually Damian Lillard, who we'll get to. He's owned more than Kyrie Irving right now. I don't see that in any way for today. So I actually think because of the way that the ownership is shaking out at the top end, I think Kyrie is still like mildly underrepresented just because of the ownership on Lillard. Now, maybe that changes as the day goes forward, but I'm still willing to take the chance on Kyrie. 34% usage rate, 25% assist rate. It's basically him and Ben Simmons just running the offense.
It is. It is interesting, though, that it's only 158 minutes that he's played with Ben Simmons and without Durant this year, but 18% assist rate with Simmons on the floor and Durant off.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't really see any sort, like, Simmons is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Now, that also comes down to, like, how much do you think Ben Simmons is going to be on the floor? Because they're going to stagger a lot of their playing time. You don't want to be going without Ben Simmons, one of those two guys on the floor, just because you need someone out there to run the offense. And I don't think that's going to be Patty Mills or Edmund Sumner.
No, can't be. And we'll get to Lillard in the next game. He is operating with just massive usage, 30+% assist rate. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see that as well. I'll get your take, obviously, on Curry and Watanabe and Royce O'Neal and those guys.
Yeah.
But what do you make of a guy like Claxton today, where he's a +1 fantasy point per minute guy? He's destructive when it comes to blocks. The San Antonio Spurs are dead last in points in the paint allowed. All of the Claxton's field goal attempts come within 3 feet of the basket. He's getting 15%. It just, to me, kind of looks like lower ownership, fast-paced game, high total, horrible defense, can't protect the paint. He's a good defensive player in terms of racking up rebounds and blocks. I know he's expensive, but if he does play like 31, 32 minutes today, you could see a ceiling game from Claxton here.
I think he looks incredible. I have him at 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So much like Kyrie's projection here, he's the guy whose minutes you don't worry about. He plays like 31 minutes a night, could get up to 33. So there's a little bit of wiggle room. 15% ownership. I have him as an under-owned option. I have him in 25% of my lineups right now. The only limiting factor for Claxton today is the fact that center is absolutely
stacked,
loaded. It's loaded. You've got the pay up options in Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Obviously, Giannis can be in that spot. Pascal Siakam is a $9,800 center only. Nurkic, Portis. So like if you take Giannis out, then Portis becomes even more interesting. Jakob Poeltl is basically my favorite play on today's slate. Ben Simmons has that eligibility. Zubats has those minutes. Brook Lopez has those minutes. Or you can be going the opposite direction because it's a 4-game slate. Maybe you're trying to take a shot on one of the centers, like a backup center, a Precious Achiuwa, a Zach Collins, a Drew Eubanks, where you're saving some salary, hoping that a Yusuf Nurkic only can play 24 minutes. So the only limiting factor that I see for Claxton is the fact that there are center options out there, and he's basically at the price that he should be. But on a per minute basis, everything looks incredible. Against San Antonio, like, he should dominate here today.
You would think so. It's as good a matchup as you're going to get. It's just an opportunity cost thing. You're right. What about the rest of Brooklyn?
Joe Harris, TJ Warren, Seth Curry, Yuta Watanabe. If you like one of those guys more than the others, by all means. It seems like Harris, Warren, and Curry are all going to be in the same sort of area for minutes. The first game with no Durant out, TJ Warren and Joe Harris both played 28 minutes. Seth played 25. In the second game, Warren played a little bit less. Harris basically played the same. Curry basically played the same. I don't have a lean between any of those guys. I have more Harris as of right now. I have a little bit less Warren as of right now. Warren's price is a little bit higher, so maybe you're paying up to be contrarian, but those guys are just going to play that 24 to 28 minute range, and you have MPEs on all three of them. Very difficult to sift through. The guy that's actually pulling the second most ownership in this group is Yuta Watanabe, 3,300. He's the one piece that you can get to that is ultra pay down. He's a 0.8 guy, so some very similar to Seth Curry. Hasn't been playing like that as of late. I gave Watanabe 21 minutes. It's what he's played in the past two. Seems to be his range. If you need the salary savings, I think he looks fine. I'm a little lighter than the 26% ownership, but we're talking about a guy that's probably like a 0.8 to 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy against the Spurs. I just don't know how many extra minutes are out there for Watanabe, but he is perfectly reasonable salary savings.
On the other side, Jakob Poeltl pulling, and you had already alluded to this, right? Like the center position has a lot. Poeltl is not, outlandishly priced at all. You're talking about a game here that we're sitting at. What's the total right now? 232.5. So pretty nice total. If he gets the minutes today, he's already clear, not elite, but a very quality per minute producer. DraftKings, you're pulling $6,200 as his salary on a slate like this. There's good, both center options in this game are really solid.
It's ridiculous how much I like Jakob Poeltl right now. He's 7K on FanDuel with 6,200 on DraftKings, projected for 30% ownership. This is a place that I'm taking a pretty sizable stand. And so much of it just has to do with the fact that he does more stuff when Devin Vassell isn't in the game. And Devin Vassell is going to be gone for a couple minutes at this point in time, a couple more weeks. I don't think that he actually shows up again this season, but that's not really a conversation for right now. If you just look at games where Devin Vassell is off the floor and that Jakob Poeltl, Keldon Johnson, and Trey Jones all start. So trying to get an idea of like games where the Spurs are at basically full strength, you see a slight bump in usage for Jakob Poeltl, but what you really see is a slight bump in his assist rate. He starts doing a little bit more work from the nail, starts getting guys more involved offensively. You wouldn't expect him to have like a sizable assist rate, but he's way more likely to get assists than someone like Keldon Johnson, who's going to dominate the ball. It's either going to be Trey Jones as the primary option or sort of secondary offense through Poeltl. And then he actually sees a bit of a rebounding bump as well. I got him over 1.3 fantasy points per minute in this spot. I got him in for 27 minutes. We saw him play 31 on Sunday. You can see him get up into those high 30s when the games are competitive and he's not in any foul trouble. I just think he's the best combination of price and per minute rates for today. He's in almost everything that I'm doing right now.
Okay. So as it stands for you, one of, if not your favorite play on the slate right now.
Yep. He was number one in my contenders videos on DraftKings this morning.
What about Richardson? Because if Doug McDermott sits in this one, I mean, Richardson's coming off a 30-minute game off the bench without Doug McDermott. We have McDermott projected in right now, but Richardson's still getting 27% ownership.
I have no idea what to do with his minutes.
Okay.
He so very rarely gets that giant bump. He's just generally fixated in that 24 range. You kind of see him get a bump anytime like anybody is out, but at the same time, you also see situations where somebody's out and he doesn't get that same bump. For right now, I have McDermott in. And then I have Richardson at 23 minutes. If McDermott happens to be out, I'd probably go up to like 24 minutes on Richardson. I wouldn't go too crazy because they can just go so many different ways. Like, I don't necessarily expect Josh Richardson to play 13 straight minutes to close out a third quarter, start a fourth quarter, and then close a fourth quarter. I do expect them to not go to Romeo Langford, but they have options. Let's put it that way. And it's also possible that San Antonio is just not in this game because they're San Antonio. He will look good. As of right now, I have 0% Josh Richardson at the 26% ownership that we're showing. To me, he's the most over-owned guy that we've looked at. But at the same time, he could put himself in a situation to look a little bit better. But at 4,500, there's just a lot of guys that are going to have comparable projections to him, and he's not stepping into any sort of crazy range. What's the difference between Grayson Allen and Josh Richardson today? To me, nothing. What's the difference between Josh Richardson and KCP or Nick Batum? Seth Curry even is in like the same range of ownership at the opposite side. Much more opportunity for me for Curry, or Joe Harris at half of the ownership of Josh Richardson. I think he's just wildly overowned.
Even if McDermott's out? Like, would you rather have Richardson or Curry if McDermott's out? And I only ask that because we know that Curry's going to be popular, and he's also as scoring dependent as they come.
I would say that they would look like equals.
Okay, me too. Almost identical price points as well.
Yeah. But I think Joe Harris at 15% ownership and Josh Richardson at 26 right now, I've got more interested in Joe Harris just because of the ownership difference. I mean, Josh Richardson in my model is a 0.88 fantasy point per minute guy. That's good.
Not that. Yeah. If he got 30 minutes with Richardson sideline, 0.88 is not all that bad.
I think you need a very specific game for him to get to 30 again. I'd have a hard time projecting him for anything more than 26 minutes if McDermott's out.
Okay. That's fair. What else do you want to do for San Antonio before we move on to Portland, Denver?
I mean, Keldon Johnson's 6,600 on FanDuel. That's kind of a no-brainer. There's a reason he's pulling 43% ownership. It's that. He's less interesting to me at 7,400 on DraftKings. I always have a little bit of interest in Trey Jones. He's ultra consistent. He's going to play 30 minutes. He's going to be a fantasy point per minute guy. Maybe he falls into something extra, but he's just sort of always involved. He's the only real heartbeat of this Spurs team. So I always find him at least mildly interesting. I am getting to McDermott if he's in. $3,600 shooting guard, small forward, just another one of those 3K guys with positional flexibility that could work. And then Zach Collins for 4K. If you don't want to go to Jakob Poeltl, if that's not a direction that you're trying to go, and you think it's because Jakob Poeltl could, I don't know, get into foul trouble or something here, any limited minutes to Jakob Poeltl means Zach Collins can go from playing 16 minutes to 22 as a 4K center, fantasy point per minute guy. It's a way to be different.
Portland and Denver. By the way, Josh, we got over 500 people watching, only 117 likes.
Love it. Hit that like button though. I mean, that's egregious.
It is egregious. I would also assume there are, of the 500 of you in here, some of you are unaware, and for all of you that are watching after we're live, unaware that we have 5 free days of NBA, all of our tools, just by using the link in the description of the chat. That is true. That means that for 5 free days, almost an entire week, and basketball happens every day, unlike football, because I do this on football shows, and I'm like, hey, you get a Thursday night. Not here. You get every single day. Every single day, 5 days, all of our tools, including the lineup generator, ownership projections, the boom bust tool, the player projections, across the board, everything that we have, all of our projected stats, player projections, you name it. That I shouldn't need to say anymore. We want you to check the tools out because we want you to win, and we'd love for you to stick around, right? And for those of you that may not be in a position to do that and pay for a weekly sub right now because you're grinding smaller stakes, here's the foot in the door, completely free. If you hate it, we'll gladly refund your misery, which will be $0. Check it out. Use the tools. Familiarize yourself with them. Try and win some money. Or, Josh, they could just go to BetMGM and get 2 free months of everything that we have as well.
That's also out there, and not sticking around much longer.
No, that is about to be bye-bye. 2 free months, $240 value. You see people all the time in chat being like, I want to get in the Hall of Fame segment, right? Like, God, I got to get up. I see it all the time, especially when we would do it live on shows and not during the intermissions. And like I say, they're grinding smaller stakes. You know, the smaller bankroll. They're trying to get there. And a lot of times people do. But one of the ways to do this is if you have $2 or $10 and 2 minutes of your time, because it takes 2 minutes to sign up. You need $10 when you follow the BetMGM link, giving you guys any alternative you can to get your foot in the door here. We want you to win with these tools. We think you will win with these tools. Put it on any game, any prop. And once that settles, you're getting 2 free months, $240 value of Stokastic plus Platinum. Truly an insane deal. And that's for every single sport that we have to offer. Every single tool that we have to offer, you're getting in the door for $10 if BetMGM is available to you. It's that simple. It is legitimately the biggest no-brainer out there. And like Josh said, this is going away very soon. If you've been dragging your feet, do it. Get in our Discord, use our tools, win some money, hopefully stick around. The legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Portland at Denver. You mentioned Lillard earlier. I get what you're saying about him. He is very high. Denver's like middle of the road defensively, not the fastest paced, slowest paced team, anything like that. Lillard always has that monster ceiling. He is a 30+% usage, 30+% assist guy, not the worst rebounder for a guard. He's getting to the line at an insane clip, actually career high clip right now, Josh, 8.1 free throw attempts per game. He just, like, when Lillard pops and you don't have him, especially on a short slate, it's a wrap. But I understand where you're coming from with this ownership that we've currently got early in the morning.
I legitimately don't understand what we're doing here. It makes so little sense to me why he's getting. Is it just a salary thing? Is that what I'm missing? Should I be projecting him for more than 36 minutes? Because, he does play more than 36 minutes from time to time, but not like maybe I make it 37, maybe I make it 38. Maybe that's the issue and why I'm finding him to be hard to get to at 36% ownership, the highest mark of anybody at the top end, higher than Kyrie, more than Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, Kawhi, Harden, Siakam,
way higher
Paul George,
than all the real
Drew.
top tier guys. Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't think that I have him. If we want to say that this is a minutes problem, then maybe it's a minutes problem. I gave him 36. I got him at 46 fantasy points in those 36 minutes. That's 1.27, 32% usage, a 33% assist rate, 60% true shooting. I don't feel like I'm projecting Damian Lillard all that poorly, but for some reason, he's just showing up in lineups in a way that no one else is. And I don't totally get it. I don't think he's that significantly more likely to be optimal than, I'll name a bunch of guys in this scenario because I have it in front of me. Should Damian Lillard be that much more likely to be in an optimal lineup than Kyrie Irving right now? I don't think there's any scenario where you can say that Lillard should be easily ahead of Kyrie, given what we know right now.
Wait, what about Harden at 15%?
Oh yeah, I wanted to start with the obvious one first.
Oh, okay, got yeah, because they're closer. Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying Lillard's only Lillard's 9,500, right, on DraftKings at least. Yeah. Harden's $500 more. Irving's 9,900. They're all in that same grouping. They're in the same bucket.
Yeah, I think the optimal odds that I have tell a much better story in this range, where I have Kyrie at 23, Lillard at 18, Siakam at 14, Paul George at 16 if he plays, Fred VanVleet at 16, James Harden at 11. Like, it's way closer together and way flatter across these guys than what we're showing in ownership. So my real problem is just that I think Damian Lillard is wildly overowned.
That's fair.
Like, clearly he's still a good play.
You just think there shouldn't be as much of a gap between him and some of these other guys. I get that.
I feel like I'm going to have an easier chance to win a slate if Damian Lillard just isn't the optimal guard today and I don't have him.
I got
that doesn't make him not a good play, though.
But man, I have a tough time getting the guys like Anthony Simons too. He's playing like 6 to 8 minutes a game without Irving. That's not really enough. I'm sorry, without Lillard. Like, when Lillard's out there, Simons' usage tanks, his assist rate tanks. It's not just like a 1 and 1A. It's not even a 1 and a 2. It's like he's a 2, but he's such a distant 2 that you're paying almost $7,000 for him today. It feels kind of tough to get to someone like him as well.
Yeah, I think his ownership is mostly correct. I do like him in GPPs, especially on a day like today.
If you're underweight on Lillard?
For one, absolutely there. But two, he's the type of guy that I do want to get to in GPPs when the ownership is low. Because when he's one of those guys that's self-fulfilling. If he's making a lot of shots early, like his entire game is making shots, he's going to keep shooting when he's hot. It's easier, like when that gets started early, I'm much more likely to see him pay that off. He's also a guy that plays big minutes, as is everybody else in this Portland lineup. Do I think he's as good of a, I don't think his chance of being in an optimal lineup is all that different from Dame's. And
at their respective price points.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. I probably like him a little bit less, just because what's a ceiling game for Simons right now with Lillard playing 37 minutes per game?
I mean, I've got a goal for him as basically like 40 fantasy points for today on a 4-gamer.
That's achievable. Yeah. What about
Josh? He's the type of guy that can score 30 real points in a game, and that's not crazy. And when he does that, it really doesn't take much of extra bullshit to get to a 40 mark.
Right. What about Josh Hart? I know that his price point is it's attainable. It's not bad, but just a super low usage guy here. That things need to go right for Josh Hart to get there. You like him at 22%?
Not really. I have 10. I'm very light on this Portland team right now. I mean, with Josh Hart, 867 minutes when the guys that are going to start today all start together. They've started 26 games together with this starting five. Like, we know what we're getting here.
Yeah.
12.5% usage rate. You know, it's like a comparable assist rate and rebounding rate. He just does a little bit of everything, and he just soaks up some playing time. 5,600 for him at small forward, and he's pulling 22% ownership. There's that. Or you can go to basically the exact same play on the opposite side in MPJ at the same ownership. I'd rather just have MPJ than Josh Hart today.
Well, let's talk about Denver, unless you've got anything else for Portland.
I mean, Nurkic is always interesting. I'm getting a little bit of Drew Eubanks at 3K. That's basically a scenario where, like, in lineups that you don't have Nurkic, Drew Eubanks should look a little bit more interesting. Don't play them together, but flat 3K on a 4-game slate. One center probably gets into foul trouble and loses like 6 minutes, and their backup gets a couple extras. That could be enough to just put you into having the value you need to get a better guy in your lineup. I don't have really anything to say on Jeremy Grant. Too expensive. Gary Payton, not interested. Nas Little, not interested.
Denver looks different whether you're on DraftKings or FanDuel. Like Aaron Gordon pulling 28% on FanDuel, highest owned player on the team. Jokic isn't particularly popular on either site, but then MPJ, who you mentioned, he's getting 20% on DraftKings as the highest owned Denver Nugget today. Yeah,
so I like MPJ the most of anybody for this team, but $7,500 Jamal Murray is too cheap for 12% ownership. There's no reason a fantasy point per minute guy out here playing 34 minutes, upwards of 38. Like, he played 38 and 39 in his last two. Can play 38 or 39 minutes in a competitive matchup. He's just not the right price at 7,500. But if we end up getting Drew looking even better, now we're talking Dame, Kyrie, Jamal Murray, Drew Holiday. We're just loaded at point guard. So you're going to find a situation where one of these guys, like, I'd rather just have more Jamal Murray at no ownership than Dame at 3 times the ownership. I don't think that these guys are like that crazily, like, they're obviously different plays. Damian Lillard obviously projects much better than Jamal Murray, but relative to salary, I'm getting a 3-to-1 ownership relationship. It's just an easy place to go. And I don't think anybody's ever mad that they get Jamal Murray.
Do you have any priorities for Denver?
Right now, unfortunately, it is Michael Porter Jr. I don't love it, but at 5,400, I just don't think he's the right price. Similar story to Royce O'Neal at 5,500. I think these guys just project a little bit better than what's around them. He is a guy that I'm getting to a bunch. I think small forward is just a difficult position to fill out today. We've talked so much about very, very obvious point guard plays. We've talked a lot about very, very obvious center plays, along with the Embiids and the Jokic's of the world. We're not really talking a lot about very obvious small forward plays. So there's not a lot out there that I see at small forward that I'm just like, okay, that's the guy that I guess we're turning into the best option. There isn't anything like that. It's Kawhi overpriced if Paul George is back. It's Paul George coming back, and who the hell knows. The highest owned small forward today on DraftKings is Yuta Watanabe at 3,300. He's a backup for the Nets. So Small forward, you're kind of just hitching your wagon to whatever you like most. And for me right now, the guy that I like the most is Michael Porter Jr.
All right, let's round this one out with Philly and the Clippers. Appreciate you guys making my first strategy show of the season a smooth one. You too, Josh. Nice little smooth transition here. Having some fun. Of course, well, again, we're not going an hour. Nah. Jordan called bullshit on that real quick, but we'll be good. We'll be good. There's not a ton to talk about in this last game anyway. But the reason I mentioned Harden to you earlier, just in relation to these other guards, is, he comes back from that, what was it, like month-long hiatus, comes back 26% usage rate, 47% assist rate, 11% rebound rate, which certainly cannot be overlooked for a guard. Can't be overlooked. And then 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. You are talking about somebody here that can put up pretty monstrous numbers on any given night in any matchup. How does he stack up against the other guards here? Low total game, two of the slower paced teams in the league, two better defenses. That's not lost on me, but he's pulling 15% on a 4-game slate, and he's 10,000, not 11.5.
So I think he's obviously a perfectly acceptable play. He's 15% owned. I would be more than okay to just be with the field here. But this is a slow-ish Philly team. This is a slow Clippers team. This isn't the best total in the world.
Yep.
So I got him in for 36 minutes. I think he projects fine. I don't really have much to say on Harden. I think what we're seeing on him is basically correct. It's hard for me to want to project him ahead of Kyrie Irving at this moment. So that's sort of like a blocking point for me. I like him as a pivot to the Damian Lillard ownership as of right now, but I can't say that I prioritize Harden in any way, because there's just too many, like, he's just point guard eligible. There's too many different point guards today that make it so that I want to get to him with any sort of aggressive manner. There is one interesting piece happening to Philadelphia right now that could slowly make James Harden incrementally better. And that's what they did on Sunday. They brought Tyrese Maxey off the bench, which is something that I talked about on this show over the past week or two, where it just fits the team better for Tyrese Maxey to start on the bench and DeAnthony Melton to be in the starting lineup. It gets a situation where you can get Maxey out there and stagger their minutes even more in a more natural way. You still expect Tyrese Maxey to close games, but now you redistribute the way that the minutes are going to happen, which I think is better for the Philly balance. If Maxey's coming off the bench again, that's a boost to Harden and a boost to Maxey, just because they both get to have the ball in their hands more.
Yeah, big time. No, I totally agree. I think that the move to take Maxey and put him on the bench makes way too much sense right now, because you've got Embiid, Harden, and Harris as your starters. Melton's not a slouch either, solid defensive player.
Get the defense out there. Get a guy that is, he's like a 16% usage guy. Yep. You're already dominating the ball with Harden, dominating the ball with Embiid. You obviously want Tobias Harris to get some touches. To me, it just makes the pieces fit together better. It's not like Tyrese Maxey is going to play 24 minutes off the bench. He's going to play 30 plus still.
Right. But as well as I do that the Sixers bench has been a problem for a long time. Like you would take Embiid off, they'd have a 12-point lead. They'd be down by 6 when he returns halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah. Can you imagine, you get Tyrese Maxey out there running breaks against the second unit of other teams where all of a sudden, he's just getting transition bucket after transition bucket after transition bucket. Yeah, no,
I totally agree with you. Philly's not that appealing today, though. That was the only reason I brought Harden up, because the guy's floor, generally speaking, is really high just because he does everything. He does everything. So there's him, and then there's Embiid. You're paying a premium for him, and then you also have the Giannis's and Jokic's of this slate. But just given the breakdown, given the landscape of this slate right now, you're not seeing any of these Embiid, Giannis, Jokic. You're not seeing any of the top tier guys pulling a lot of ownership.
No, I had I got to 10% Embiid. That's the most I'm getting of these ultra pay up options. I find Jokic very difficult to get to at 12K. Clearly, anytime you make a lineup with one of these guys in it, you feel pretty good about it. But by getting to those guys, that's why we're seeing Yuta Watanabe be the highest owned small forward. You got to get that salary back somewhere. Yep. Always okay to get to Joel Embiid. He's capable of breaking this slate on his own. He's a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy. He's a 38% usage guy. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. But that said, there's just so many guys in the 9K range that are capable of going for 55 or 60 that you need 70 out of Joel Embiid to really change up the day. I don't know how easy that is at center, especially when we've already named like 8 other guys that are 6K centers that are capable of hanging 50 fantasy points today.
For sure. S&P 93 said Doc Rivers with a smart coaching decision, the most unexpected development of 2023. Yeah, totally. Which means that Maxey will be starting again today.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Wrap us up with the Clippers. I don't really need to set the table too much with this one. This was, one of the lesser appealing teams on an abbreviated set of games.
Yeah, it's basically impossible to talk about them too. And it's something we're going to have to wait on. So still no Luke Kennard, John Wall is going to be out for probably 2-3 weeks. Paul George has a Q tag on him. Now he has missed the past 5 games, which is going to make things very difficult. And like, if he comes back, I don't think that he is like outwardly limited, but I'd be surprised if he just immediately went into 36 minutes.
Full practice yesterday, though, for what it's worth.
So I've got him in. I got him in for 33 minutes, and I think that's pretty reasonable. I actually like him a bit if the ownership holds. Like, I hope he keeps the Q tag because people are going to be scared of this one. But I think if he's playing, he's just like generally playing. You just don't go insane to make sure that he plays all of the minutes in the world. It's a $9,100 shooting guard small forward. There's a lot of flexibility there for Paul George. If Paul George is back, I can't imagine going to Kawhi at 10,300. He's got a 25% usage rate in games that he's started alongside Paul George, 25% assist rate. He's like a 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy. That's good. But if you're already paying 10.3, are you trying to go to Kawhi with Paul George alongside of him instead of Harden or Kyrie or Pascal Siakam or some of these guys? I can't. So I have a hard time going to Kawhi. After that, this team is terrifying. It's just a lot of guys that play like 28 minutes a game. I don't know what they're going to do with Terrence Mann once Paul George is back, now that Terrence Mann has become the starting point guard for this team. He's been playing 40 minutes a game for some of these games without PG, now that he's moved into that starting lineup. I gave him 32. We have him pulling no ownership. That surprises me a bit. I have a lot of interest in Terrence Mann tonight, assuming he's still just the starting point guard for the Clippers. Zubats always looks pretty interesting to me. I gave him 28 minutes. I gave Marcus Morris 28 minutes. I gave Norm Powell 28 minutes. I've got Nick Batum in for 26. All of these guys are just like, yeah, I probably want him in like 15% of the things that I'm doing. Every single one of them can be a guy that you could put into a lineup if you're like a one lineup guy. I just don't know how you prioritize anything from the Clippers. I think we see Reggie Jackson come back into the rotation as the backup point guard nominally, particularly now with no John Wall. I think it just naturally becomes Reggie Jackson. But I can't look at this Clippers team and think that's a guy I have to have. If Paul George ends up out, everybody looks a little bit better, but I still don't see anybody when I look at this and think like, this guy's a no doubt about it play today.
Mike Oster says 13 games discussed in 60 minutes, 4 games slate goes over 60 minutes. Yeah, I will say though, and I know Josh agrees with me on this, it is actually sometimes harder to stay under with 4 games or short slates because you cover everything from every single game. And you just like with 13 games, there are times where you're just like, all right, we're not talking about that game at all.
Well, it's just like it's Kawhi and it's Paul George, and there's nobody else that's worth talking about because they're all 3% optimal type guys. You can draw lines through so many teams on a big slate. Where on a 4-game slate, I have to say something about Drew Eubanks and Zach Collins.
Exactly. And Watanabe.
Wlatko Chanchar is a guy that's in 10% of my lineups right now. Like, I got to mention those things because it's viable on a 4-game slate. Those guys aren't viable at all on a 13-game slate.
Plus, we have some fun around here.
Yeah. I mean, what else are we going to do?
Yeah. You want to hear? Let me tell you a real quick funny story before we go. All right.
Did you figure out how to talk about our pre-show talk?
No, but I think I grossed my mother-in-law out so much. So my daughter, Jordan, pooped on the toilet yesterday for the first time. She's been peeing on the toilet, but she's young. She's not even 2. And
I hope this has nothing to do with the first conversation now.
No. It's hilarious though. First of all, dropped like a grown man log. I was shocked by it.
Okay.
All right. And it freaked her out. Like she didn't know what happened. She's all spooked by it, runs away. I'm like, get over here. And
you got to take a picture and send it to your friends.
So Justine did take a picture with her, like flushing the toilet, and sent it without context to her mom and her father-in-law, and her stepdad. And and included me in the text, right? So just sent a picture of a log in the toilet with Jordan like flushing it. And there's no context. She didn't say anything, just the picture I'm in the chat. It's Justine. It's her mom. It's her stepdad. And I come in, swoop in and I go, Jordan insisted I let her flush my poop. So I had her mom thinking we just sent her a picture of me shitting in the toilet and sending her that. And she just responds with, ew, nothing else. Never responded, even after Justine told her it was a joke. Thought that was pretty good, though.
It's fantastic. You should have been like, I was just so proud of it. I wanted to share with her.
Exactly. Well, the best part is, dude, this was grown man style. So you look at it and you're convinced that, like, oh my God, he's telling the truth.
There's corn and blood. Is a true man shit.
You guys are the best. Appreciate you being with us as always. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Loughran_D. Shout out to Jordan Klein for producing. Anything else before we go?
No, contenders videos are out. Process is out from earlier today as well. Deeper dive with myself and Adam Scher at 5:30, where we can break this bad boy down again. You get Adam's thoughts on everything. Keep your eyes out for his Bet Pro videos today as well.
Yeah.
They've been starting up over the last week and a half.
Bet Pro's been killing it.
I saw that post this morning when I woke up.
A lot of green on that? Yeah.
Lots of green days.
Do we have that link in the description? I'm assuming we do. Yeah. First week's free. Lots of green. Just
I think
that
so.
tool is crushing right now.
It really is.
Yeah, you're right. Check that out. Everything on the Odd Shopper channel. You'll be back today. You got the contenders. You got the process Monday through Friday. We got you guys covered all day, every day. Everything DFS, betting, you name it. You guys are the best. We'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.